Greetings and welcome, and today we're taking a look at Hearthstone, Kobolds and Catacombs, in particular the Dungeon Run, which is a new mode that's being added for this expansion set, I guess. I'm Russell, and joining me is Mitchell to discuss this.
Take Candle.
Take Candle. And in general, like, they set it up like in the new base where they've got this coin, coin stash in the corner and then the coin in the other end. So they've got that candle theme in there. They're set for that.
Oh, the candle's in, and the treasure chest, and all kinds of things.
Yep. So essentially, the Dungeon Run mode was a new feature being added for this expansion. That initially I actually thought it was just going to be like a new mode in general, but it seems like it is connected to this expansion, which makes me think maybe future expansions will be adding additional modes. But that's just a prediction on how I think they've structured this in terms of like their little system. Like, it seems like they might be adding new modes into other expansions in the future or something like that. But this mode is a single player dungeon run, but not using your deck, and not ever using any deck in the game. It's using cards in the game, obviously, but you do not have to own anything. It's the entire mode is free, and it does not use any of the external card packs or even the card packs that came out with this expansion. So it's very good in that sense, because it's basically like a perfect tool for or even experience for people who don't have anything yet. That's just like the first time.
Like me.
Yeah, and I want to get into just like what your initial impressions of like what the mode, Mitch. What did you think?
Oh, I don't really play Hearthstone much, but this mode is fun. I am enjoying it far more than I enjoy like the other modes, like your verse bosses and stuff. I mean, still effectively versing bosses, but they're a bit easier, and I like the fact that I don't have to have cards, which I don't have any, really, and so it makes me be able to both level up these classes that I wouldn't normally play and see what kind of combinations there are that I don't have access to.
And that's
also, some of the bosses are really cool.
Yeah, and it's interesting, like, just how many bosses they do have in this. Like, when I first announced it, I thought it was combining from the other expansions, but now I realize that's not the case at all. There is just a heck of a lot of bosses. However, I believe the first boss is always the rat, so you're always versing that rat at the start.
No, there's a little whelping you can fight as well.
Oh, okay, I haven't versing that one, so there is one more you can verse that isn't the rat.
There's at least two.
It seems less of, but it's always going to be like, you know, the easiest. Like, the first one isn't the very challenging, like you're going most likely to.
No, you should always beat them.
Yeah, and then you essentially, the only choice you have, well, you have multiple choices, but initially you're just a deck. So which class do you want to be? And that class builds, from what I can tell, the same deck every time. So it's the same base deck. So if you pick Druid,
I believe so.
It's got the same base cards. However, as you win the first boss, and by the way, the first boss you start at 10, and then you increase in increments of 5 unless you pick your set abilities. Yeah. But it's
up and up and up.
10, 15, 20, blah, blah, blah for each boss. So you beat the rat, and then you get an option of a passive ability, I believe is the first one you get.
They all seem to be passive at the start.
Yeah, so it alternates essentially. It's like passive, nothing, item card, nothing, passive. I believe that's how it works. So passive is really cool because it's essentially a mechanic that, as the name hints, activates, but you have no control of it. So it's like you just pick one of these, and it's just happening now.
That's just happening. That's just it. And sometimes those mistakes, sometimes you pick one you didn't want to pick, and it ruins your whole game.
Yeah.
Right, Russell?
Yeah, I very stupidly, I picked Druid, and then I proceeded to pick Stealth, because I thought, oh yeah, Stealth's going to be a very useful ability, just in general to build up like certain cards like as strength, and then activate when you want. However, I thought it was on the first turn their Stealth, or like the first time you summon them, like Stealth normally works. However, it's just all your minions are Stealth now, which completely screwed me over when I got further in the rounds, because Druid is essentially a very taunt-based deck, or deck type. So as you're building up your new cards, picking new ones to put in, I got screwed over because suddenly I had all my taunt minions who were strong with Stealth. So all the bad guys, all the enemies, bosses cards could just attack straight past through them. I'm like, well, that was a very, very bad choice. So
just a bit. See, I had the opposite with Jaina, because it reduced my spell cost by 3. So I could cast a lot of spells way earlier than I should have, which is very advantageous for a mage to be able to do that in advance.
And that's what's kind of like, it's random. So you got 3 options. Hearthstone's like favorite.
And they won't always be the same option.
Yeah, it's switching between. So it doesn't always work out in your favor in the sense of like, oh, I'm Jaina, so now I'm always going to pick that magic one. It's like, no, it'll just randomize it, as all of this is. It's constantly changing, making it feel very different each time.
Yeah, so it basically changes your whole strategy around what are you picking next. Like, when you pick the cards, it's like, okay, so this is my ability. How do I work best with this one?
Yeah.
And then that's how you build your deck. So it's really quite clever.
It's basically like combining elements from Arena, where Arena you start off with the base. No, actually that one you build this base set. You build your deck out of random cards of 3. You pick each one for each one. Build your final deck. With this one, you start off with a relatively simple deck, but still cards featured around that character class that are reasonable. And then you have choices like, here's the 3-card set, or this 3-card set, or this 3-card set, and then you kind of have a choice of, do I want to pick the one that maybe has a specific legendary I want, the other 2 maybe aren't that useful, or do I want to pick the one that's got 3 good cards, because they balance out better in my deck structure as it is kind of thing. So it's really cool, you've got that randomization and like deck building attitude as you kind of like build through it. Or
Yeah, it's a card game.
yeah, or having that passive choice. Like either way, it feels like you're making a pretty cool choice between what you want to get between the different levels and stuff. It's definitely a really cool implementation. The other thing I like is that it is using every card from every set. So you've got cards that suddenly were only like available in Wild, which for those who don't know is essentially where they restricted cards based off like the season, is what they call it, like the year. And so all their expansions are no longer playable.
Wild card.
Default mode. So you can only play it in this Wild mode where every card's available. That is how this works. So that's good. However, when talking to you, Mitchell, I realized they don't explain what some of the effects do that well in the actual this mode. So you're already like,
No, they don't.
yeah. So you're like, what does this one do? I'm like, oh, because it's from an earlier set and they don't explain it. So what? Yeah. So that was Inspire, yeah.
Yeah, it was the Inspire one where you have to cast an ability, which I didn't know. I was like, Inspire, do I play it down? Everyone gets all like, ooh, inspired?
Yeah. So I
No.
So I wonder if maybe Blizzard's not really good at like just having information like out. So I wonder if they'll either put up like a little subtext somewhere. It's like, oh, this is just how you use Inspire or something like that. But I
They
definitely
might need to start thinking about it.
yeah, but it's definitely one of those things where it's like, oh yeah, I didn't really consider the fact that if you haven't played all the other previous expansions and suddenly they're combining them all, it's like, I haven't played, I don't know what Inspire does. What does it? It does. It's not that clear. In fact, it's not clear at all what it does from the name. Even though
No, they give inspiration. I mean, I thought it was like, play it, and everyone's like, oh, now we're inspired.
yeah,
But no, they need to see the leader do something.
I do want-
Which, I mean, it makes sense, but it's not like the obvious thing of what Inspire
yeah. And I'm also
would be.
because you haven't really played it for a very long time, but you did play it originally, so you don't do the tutorial system again. I wonder if the tutorial system is completely changed now. So now it tells you all those effects. I'm not even sure if that's how it works.
Yeah, and screw those people who are like halfway into the game. They didn't quite get in, but they already got through the bit that teaches them the game. It's like, you know what?
Yeah.
We don't care about you.
Yeah, I know there's definitely like settings and locations where, and like card where you can tell you where, like when you get them in your deck builder, they tell you, but in this, I don't know if they do. So that can be difficult in that respect. But I still like the fact that you're getting cards that you potentially haven't seen for ages if you've just been playing normal, like rank mode.
And yeah, I'd also say the counter thing over like new players can experience, like I said earlier, that they can experience cards they don't own or won't be able to use because it's in wild or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's like lets you experiment more with the game because you're kind of like forced to make choices where you otherwise wouldn't if you had no other option.
Yeah, and in general, like I'm pretty happy with everything except for one thing, and that is the rewards associated with this mode. So
Oh, they run out very fast.
yeah, so the way initially I'm like, is there any rewards at all? And then you're listening, I'm like, oh, I'm leveling up your character because you're a lower level character. I got really high ones, so it takes me forever to level up anything. Or I've already got max level to begin with. So I didn't even. I'm like, oh, at least there's something. However, with the exception of leveling up, you don't really get anything for doing these modes.
You get like 3 card packs.
Yeah, so they always do where there's something new's added and they want you to use that mode. So they give you 3 card packs, so 1 for getting 1, 5, and 10. But after that point, it's basically just you're doing this mode to get experience. You're not getting any coins or gold, I think is what they
Oh god, yeah.
to purchase other packs. So I can understand why they didn't do it, and the reason is because they don't want to ruin their monetization system they've got going on with the rank.
Yeah, they gotta make money. God.
So if suddenly you can just grind this out, just keep doing story mode, and let's say you win and you get like a deck pack or like 100 gold each time or something,
Yeah.
you can get them through pretty quick, and it's technically maybe easier to do this than it is to beat like real players online and that kind of thing. So.
Yeah, I'd say so.
And it's a different mode, so it's fun and it's very random and it's changing up, so it feels so different every single time you play.
Yeah. I do have a point to make. You know how at the BlizzCon they showed off, it was Ben Bro going, we can go this path or this path.
Yes, they don't, yeah.
I really wish the whole game was like, now you get to choose which path to take.
I agree, that was a cool idea shown in that, and you're right, they don't do that. There is no path
No, they
decision.
don't.
And that would have been cool. I mean, You could say the paths are picking which deck you're adding.
Yeah, that is like when they talk
But-
path, but I mean like adding a story
Exactly,
to the fact
yeah.
you're going through these caves.
Adding like a
these catacombs.
narrative to
yeah,
it.
like a
where
little
you're-
narrative.
You're like, every time you go, you want this
with
path.
like a meta announcer who's like,
Just get Ben Bro to do it. He's just the
yeah,
just
it's
record
good
some lines, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it is like, I mean, it's not a deal breaker, but it would have been
And
a very good addition.
And the thing
to
I
it.
know, it's Blizzard. I know they'll listen to fan feedback and they will build and improve and make changes where they see fit. And perhaps even the next expansion, like I'm thinking, they might incorporate that. So make a new system where you do have the branching paths, or just update this and add that in as a new thing.
Yeah.
But in general, yeah, I definitely really enjoy it. You seem to have enjoyed it a lot, Mitch.
Yeah, I'm a big fan.
And that,
Yeah, it's got me into Hearthstone a bit.
and that's why I really do commend Blizzard for this, because it's a mode that, even though I'm a little annoyed that they don't give you much rewards external to this mode, it is just a mode where anyone can pick up and play. Like you could just play Hearthstone like this. You don't even have to touch anything. You just go, I just play this dungeon run mode. It works. I can have fun in it.
Yeah, it works. It's fun. It's what I'm kind of doing at the
Yeah,
moment.
and heaps of randomization to it. And it's going through all the deck pools and allows you to see different cards and that kind of stuff. It's definitely a good idea. Good implementation by Blizzard. Thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
So yes, we have been Optional Extra, and hopefully you enjoyed this video. If so, please like and subscribe, or and offer us any feedback on how to improve it, or kind of
Buy one of our card packs.
find whatever loot crate microtransactions. But yes, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Or we might not.
Thanks for your minions, friend.
For those who are brave and seek adventure.